can, okay. Last week we were talking about, what was, okay, globalization, right? Globalization was one of the reasons, the meaning changing of the state and sovereignty. Nowadays, many countries connected with more trade and communication, migrations. Those are the reason of globalization. Today, we're gonna see there are also international law and multilateralism. So international law, many countries are connected more closely through trade. Communication, migrations, right? That's okay. Same slide. Also, multilateral cooperation. Multilateral cooperation is globalized cooperation. For example, Toyota is originated in Japan, right? But they have many branch-like companies in other countries with, like Toyota Europe, Toyota US, Toyota Korea, something like that, right? So that means that is multilateral cooperation. So that means once Toyota run their business, not only in their country, they make the plant, they have manufactured in US too, right? I think it was in Alabama or somewhere, yeah, something like that. So that is, we are all connected with economy and trade. Also, multilateral cooperation means, we also have many challenges like climate changes, terrorism, pandemic. Those are all the reasons we are all connected. Also, the international organizations like the UN, United Nations, also EU, European Union. Also, you heard of a health organization, WHO, right? And the UNICEF, and something like that. Those are organizations that enforce the law to some specific country. When some specific country abuse people's basic rights, and then this international organization intervene to some country. They practice the power abusement. Yeah. Also, the humanitarian reason intervention. We talked about this one last week, okay? And then, okay, NATO, we did this too, okay? Yeah, we didn't do this one, okay? Also, technological advancement and cyber sovereignty. Cyber sovereignty means with rise of internet, digital communications, many countries now face new sovereignty challenge, like cyber attack, data privacy. Those are the issue of cyber sovereignty. For example, some hackers, they steal people's personal information, sell it to some other companies, right? That is issue of cyber sovereignty. Also tech giant, we talked about, we see now Google, Facebook, Amazon, Microsoft, Apple. Those high-tech companies, they run their business all over the world, right? So that means we are all connected with those high-tech, high technologies. Also, economic sovereignty is another issue with international trade. I don't know if you remember, Korea had an issue with 1997 IMF, right? That time Korea borrowed a lot of money from IMF. Then Korea didn't make the payment with the interest and the principal. So the IMF intervened in Korea's economy. They forced to pay the balances Korea borrowed. So one of the way was, at that time, many people, many economies in Korea, they sell the big buildings to other nations. Also, people did some kind of fundraising to make repayment of the money they owe to IMF. That was another reason why we are all connected. Also, there are trade economies, right? Trade agreements, we know that, and climate change also. That is a big issue. When Korea was developed many decades ago, people just tried to manufacture a factory to make their economic growth, right? So they didn't really take care of the environment and pollution. Also now that happens too in China, right? Many years ago, China was agricultural, economy, but they started to, make their economic growth. So they built many manufacturers. They produced many, goods, products, and then with that result, so there are many problems with environment and pollutions. India too, So that is also the issue of globalization. So environment sovereignty, we talked about it. Okay, let's see one video about climate change.
Right now, we're facing a man-made disaster of global scale. Our greatest threat in thousands of years, climate change. If we don't take action, the collapse of our civilizations and the extinction of much of the natural world is on the horizon. The world's people have spoken. Their message is clear. Time is running out.
The amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere now is 50% higher than it was in 1980. And not only are we piling in more and more carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, but we are chopping down the forests of the earth at a great rate. And the forests themselves are the most efficient consumers of carbon dioxide that there are on Earth. We're going to destroy the ground because the soil of a rainforest isn't very good. We are actually tampering with the climate of the Earth and with the very atmosphere that we breathe. When we talk about the disappearance of the ozone layer, we don't know what will happen when the ozone layer goes. The world has become so fragile that we cannot subject the Earth to the tortures we can now inflict upon it. When we talk about the greenhouse effect, we're talking about something that affects the entire Earth. And these problems are life and death problems. They go to the root of the viability of the planet itself. If there's one thing that is biologically certain about the human species is that it is a human species, one species.
If we don't stop the destruction of our natural world, nothing else will matter. Simply put, if we don't protect nature, we can't protect ourselves.
The only way we can solve a problem is by a human solution. Never can we sit back and wait for miracles to save us. Miracles don't happen. Sweat happens. Efforts happens. Thought happens.
Okay, also climate change is not only one country's problem, not only one culture's problem. That is now everybody's problem. In this video, the scientists talking about the extinction. Extinction means we will all die because of climate change. As far as I know, the Earth age was 5 billion years old. In that Earth history, there are 5 great extinctions. One of them was, the dinosaur, right? Many million years ago, dinosaur was ruling the Earth, right? But some point, they all died because of climate change. Nowadays, Homo sapiens, we are all in the top of ecosystem. If we don't control the changing of climate, eventually we will all die. Scientists, they are warning about this. Since Industrial Revolution, the Earth temperature was increased 1.2 degrees Celsius. I think it was if we pass the temperature change 1.5 degree, that time we cannot stop it because of greenhouse effect. So we try to maintain not increasing the earth temperature below 1.5 increase. But now we are almost there. It is a serious problem. If we pass 1.5, there's no turning back. So we have to try to use the products with product was produced in factory with not a carbon making process. So we have to reduce the using of fossil fuel like gas, coal, burning something to make energy. So we have to reduce using those fuels. If we don't, pretty soon we are gonna all die. But also, another problem is nowadays, particularly, let's say in Korea, the young generation, less population of young generation getting married. They don't have children. Most couple has one children or no children. That means past three generations, okay? Grandfather, father, and son. That is three generations. From now, when three generations passes, the population of Korea will be only 10 million people. That is a serious problem. That's not only Korea's problem. Also China, any other countries, they don't want to have a baby anymore. So total human population will be reduced. That is also a big problem. Okay, also we had experience pandemic, right? COVID-19. Okay, that is not only one country's problem, right? The whole world was suffering from that virus. Also, there are some, states some states they cannot run their government by its own sovereignty and political power. So we call that is failed states. Like Somalia, Syria, there are many countries they couldn't run their state with on their own sovereignty and power. So international organization they intervene to stop something like hardship of economy or human rights abuse. To stop those things, international organization intervene to stop those things. So we are not all alone. We are all get involved each other. Okay, so that was up to this point. We were talking about what is politics and a little bit of a history of politics. We talked about Plato, Aristotle, Adam Smith, Machiavelli. We talked about Karl Marx. We talked about capitalism. We talked about socialism. More the most advanced form of political system we call social democratic, but it depends on how we and we cannot say just like one word. Okay, one system is better. We cannot say that, right? Because there are not, system that runs 100% perfect. So people borrow idea from others, right? Also, the culture and the histories are different. Some system works for some countries, but that system is not working for another country because people's culture and background, history is totally different. So we cannot say, some particular system is good for everybody. We don't have that kind of system. We try to make better system, but it should be done by cultural background, the cultural context and history of a particular country. Okay, today it is last week of this quarter. So last week, three governmental systems. One, legislative branch, that is Congress. Okay. Second, executive branch. We are all talking about the president, right? And then judicial branch. Sometimes we go to court, right? To pay traffic, citations, something like that. Then we appeal to a judge, right? Well, that was not my fault, judge. So those things we do every day. It is judicial branch. So we're gonna delve more of those three systems. Okay, let's see brief video about United States government structure. Okay.
The United States of America has a democratic government in the form of a federal constitutional republic. What that means is that the powers of government are divided between the federal or national government and the individual state governments, which all have to follow the U.S. Constitution. The Constitution defines a system of separation of powers, where each level of government has more than one branch with special powers over the other branches, which creates a system of checks and balances across the government. The three branches of the federal government, legislative, executive, and judicial, were formed to balance its power. Each branch has ways to keep the other branches in line, leading to checks and balances. This makes it near impossible for any single person or group to take control of the entire country, which
in history, the person who did was all the power in one person. Good example, that is Hitler, right?
shown can lead to disastrous consequences. Think of the system as a game of rock, paper, scissors. Each branch has something to hold over another, thus keeping any one branch from taking over. Moving on to the actual operation of the government, each of the three branches has a different function and is organized in a different way. The legislative branch is responsible for creating laws, or legislation. It's composed of Congress, a body of elected officials from all over the country, and is divided into two groups, the House of Representatives and the Senate. The House of Representatives has a total of 435 seats, and each state is allocated House seats proportionally based on their respective populations. This means California, a state with a population of nearly 40 million, has 53 seats in the House of Representatives, while Wyoming, with barely 500,000 people, has just 1 seat. While the House has proportional representation, just 2 members of the Senate are elected from every state, no matter what the state's population is. 2 senators for each of 50 states means a total of 100 seats in the Senate. The reason for having 2 bodies of Congress is so that every state will be able to have an active role in the process of making laws. For a law to be passed, it has to be voted for by a majority in each of the 2 chambers, which ensures states with very few representatives in the House can still affect the outcome in the Senate. The executive branch of the U.S. government is the branch that enforces or carries out laws. The head of this branch is the President of the United States, who is elected every 4 years for a maximum of 2 terms in a nationwide election. Under the President is the Vice President and the various cabinet departments. Each department, which is led by a secretary, has a specific responsibility. The Department of Defense, for example, is in charge of the military, while the Department of Education deals with schools and the educational system. Every cabinet secretary serves under the President, but has to be confirmed by a majority vote in the Senate. Speaking of Congress, the President has something called veto power over laws that Congress passes. This means the President can refuse to sign a piece of legislation, which serves as a check on congressional power. Congress can, however, override a presidential veto with a 2/3 vote in each chamber. The President can also be impeached or removed from office by Congress, which serves as a check on the executive branch. Moving on, the judicial branch is responsible for interpreting laws. This means the judicial branch decides whether laws are constitutional or not, and it settles criminal cases and lawsuits based on how the law is applied. It consists of the court system, which, in the federal government, is headed by the highest court of the land, the Supreme Court of the United States. The Supreme Court is led by the Chief Justice of the United States, who is the head of the judicial branch, and has 8 associate justices. Below the Supreme Court are the Court of Appeals and district courts, which are lower courts in the federal judiciary. Each state also has its own court system, which interprets state laws, and can be appealed to the federal level. The judicial branch also has several checks on it from the other branches. Federal judges are appointed by the President to serve a life term after being confirmed by the Senate. They, like all public officials, can be impeached and removed from office by Congress. Finally, while the Supreme Court has the power to overturn laws that are against the Constitution, Congress or the states can amend or change the Constitution to make those laws legal again. By knowing about these 3 branches of government as defined in the U.S. Constitution, American citizens can be more informed about how the government system works. While there's much more to the government and the various governmental processes, this is a basic outline of the separation of powers.
So yeah, this basic, structure of United States system government. Okay, let's go more about legislative branch. That is Congress. U.S. Congress has 2 systems. One is Senate. We call it Sangwon in Korea. And then the House of Representatives, that is Hwa. Some other countries use those systems too, like Japan too. So the Senate means each state is represented equally by 2 senators. No matter how many people live in that a particular state, they all have two for each state. Their term is like 6 years. Also, they play a crucial role in approving treaties. Treaty means like agreement between two countries. Yeah, treaties and confirming president's appointments. And then, when a president appoints judge and cabinet member, then the Senate has to approve those appointment of president. Also, they have the power of impeachment when the officials in executive branch they abuse the power, then Senate has power to impeach of that officials. And the House of Representatives, they are based on the population of each state. That means more population means more House of Representatives. The California is the one of the biggest people live in, right? So it is almost like 40 million people live in California. So many more House of Representatives, they represent the population of the people. Okay, they have 2-year term. They are also elected by the people, direct vote. People vote every 2 years to select House of Representatives. Okay, also, the House has power to revenue the bill and then power of impeachment too. Federal officials. And the Congress's power is the most biggest power is law making. Congress has power to make law. Both House, Senator, House of Representatives must pass same version of the bill for it to become laws. So Congress creates legislation affecting every aspect of public life. For example, taxes, education bill, healthcare bill, and much more bills. They make the law we call bill. Okay. Also, they have power to oversight investigation. That means when other branches, like executive branch, they do something bad, they don't run the executive branch well, and then the Congress oversights. Congress has also power to stop them, to run their executive powers. Also, Congress has power to make the budget and spending. So let's see other branch, executive branch, president. President has big 3 roles. Okay. Structurally, president is belonged to executive branch, right? But he has a role of big 3. That means president represents whole United States. that means he is leader of United States, even though he only represent executive branch. Also, he is also head of government, leader of executive branch. Also, like I said before, he represents not only executive branch, he represents for United States. Also, he is also commander of military. Okay, so he has three big role and power. He represents for United States, even though he is coming from executive branch. Also, he has power of commander in military. Also, president is elected how many years? In every 4 years. He can do 2 terms. Total 8 years, he can practice his power. But president election is not direct vote. We have a special system, electoral system. We vote for now Harris and Trump, right? They compete each other. We vote for president. Actually, we are voting the electoral representative. Then they vote for president. That is indirect voting system for elect president of the United States. We call electoral college. That is group of representatives. Actually, they vote for president of the United States. Also, executive order has president. President can issue executive orders to manage federal government and any other issues. Also, president has veto power. Okay, when Congress make the bill and pass, that law bill goes to president for signing, okay? But president has right to refuse signing. Then the bill go back to Congress, okay? That's not the end. The Congress, they vote again. When 2/3 of congressmen pass this bill, it becomes the law without the signing of president. Good system. Most system passing the bill with half of the congressmen agree, the bill is passed, right? Like, let's say senator has 100 senator, right? More than 51 agree to make the bill, that is passed, right?
궁금한 거는 어쨌든 진보나 보수 중에 한쪽에서 올라가는 거잖아요. 대통령이. 이 사람은 원래는 어떤 성향을 배제하고 나서 결정을 내려야 되는 게 맞는 거예요.
U.S. system has Republican and Democratic. They do voting. They do their political practice by their vision. So when They do. Basically, they practice what they were believing.
그러니까 좀 치우칠 수밖에 없는 거잖아요.
Yes,
그쵸?
yes.
그러려고 열심히 이렇게.
Yes,
그쵸?
they compete each other.
네.
And then also vice president. Vice president serves president of Senate. Okay, they can cast deciding vote in event of the tie. Interesting system. Okay, Senate. Vice president is member of Senate. When the vote is 50-50, equal, then vice president has one vote again. So he can decide which, So that is all power game.
그러니까요.
Yes. So also the cabinet, the president appoints cabinet member, like defense, secretary of state, treasury, something like that. Okay, and then also the judicial branch. Judicial branch consists of federal court with a Supreme Court. That is the highest court in the United States, Supreme Court. So below are U.S. Court of Appeals. There are 13 circuits and U.S. District Courts, 94 district courts. These are all member of judiciary branch. So the Supreme Court has the highest court, highest power. That court is composed of 9 judges who serve lifetime. When they are appointed in the Supreme Court, they practice until they die. That is Supreme Court. So member of Supreme Court is appointed by president, but mostly, respected, judges, they serve in the Supreme Court. Also, they ensures their decisions are free from political pressure. So president appoints judges, but they must be confirmed by Senate. Okay. That is the system. All these are about check and balance. Okay, they have power to, Supreme Court has power of judicial review that is established in Marbury and Madison 1803, that is allowing it strike down laws, executive actions that violates Constitution. So they watch it, Supreme Court watches. Any law is not based on Constitution. So they have power to declare, okay, you passed the law, Senate, you passed the law. The risk law says, for example, okay, let's say, Asian people should serve military. Only Asian,
코리아만 있는 거 아니에요?
yes, let's say, Senator, Congress, they made the bill, okay? Asian male, it is not, option. All male more than 18 years old, they have to serve in United States. They passed the bill, right? For example. Then Supreme Court look at the bill. Hey guys, that is not based on Constitution. Constitution says whatever age, what religious background, what ethnic background, everybody has equal opportunities and rights, right? Why you guys do make the law only Asian male all Asian male has to serve in military? That's not the Constitution. So they have power to declare. So then the bill is rejected. Okay. Also, Supreme Court has the right of human rights. They are protecting human rights. Okay, let's say, for example, some big company lay off their employees, right? But some investigator look at that event, then he find out only Asian males were laid off, right? Then also Supreme Court says that is no good, that is discrimination. So they are protecting human rights too. So they give order, stop that, right? We hire Asian male to that position. That is protecting of human rights. Okay, so now we talked about three branches: legislative, executive, judicial. Okay. Let's see one video of legislative branches, how they work in U.S. government.
There are three branches of government in the U.S. legislative, executive, and judicial.
Yes.
The legislative branch is comprised of the United States Congress, the bicameral legislature responsible for writing and passing.
Bicameral means, two Congress, Senate and House of Representatives.
All federal laws, among various other functions. Back when founding fathers drafted the Constitution, debate stirred over the type of legislature they'd have. One with equal representation, i.e. the same number of representatives for each state, or a proportional representation, in which the number of representatives reflected the size of each state's population. Unable to choose, they settled on both. A legislative branch with two houses, the House of Representatives and the Senate, which together form the Congress. This was all outlined in Article 1 of the Constitution, which also notes the functions, powers, and parameters of the Congress and its individual representatives. A congressman's primary responsibilities include representing the interests of the constituents, working together to write laws, overseeing other government agencies, and passing bills. But of course, that's all way easier said than done. To understand how it all works, we have to take a closer look at the makeup of the two distinct houses. The first and lower house is the House of Representatives, made up of 435 elected officials. Each state is allotted a number of congressmen, determined by their total population.
Okay, House of Representatives, 435 congressmen, right? They represent the population of the people. But Senate is represent of what? States. Each state has two representatives, no matter how many people live in there. Because, like I said before, state means also nation and country, right? In the United States, each state is considered as a nation too. So they have to represent equally to congressmen.
To become a member of the House, one must be at least 25, have lived in the US for 7 years, live in the state they will represent, and be elected by the people. Congressmen serve 2-year terms and are up for re-election every even year. The House is led by the Speaker of the House, who's elected by the House of Representatives. The House has a few exclusive powers not shared by the Senate. Only the House can initiate tax laws and spending bills. Only the House can initiate impeachment of the president or other government officials. And in the event that there's no majority in the Electoral College for one of the presidential candidates, it's the House who casts the deciding vote. The Senate, or the upper house, is made up of only 100 elected members, with 2 senators from each state. Here, a state like Wyoming has as strong a voice as California, even though California has a much larger population. To run for Senate, one must be at least 30 years old, have lived in the US for 9 years, and live in the state that they will represent. Senators serve 6-year terms. Every even year, a third of the Senate is up for re-election. Before the 17th Amendment was ratified in 1912, senators were elected by the state legislatures, but now they're elected by us, the people. The Vice President of the United States serves as the head of the Senate, but he or she may only cast a vote in the event of a tie. The Senate exclusively has the power to approve presidential appointments and treaties. And when the House moves to impeach a government official, it's the Senate that tries them. Together, both houses have the power to tax, coin money, declare war, and regulate foreign and interstate commerce. But Congress's bread and butter is writing and passing bills. Getting a bill passed is no easy task. A bill can originate in either the House or the Senate, but before it gets voted upon, it goes through a series of committees and amendments and floor debates. After a vote, it moves to the other chamber and the process continues. If the one chamber makes any edits to a bill passed by the other, it has to go back for another vote. The House and Senate must vote to approve the exact same bill before it can move on. If it fails to get a majority vote, it has to be reintroduced. If it passes, it goes to the president's desk for approval. If the president chooses to veto a bill, which essentially voids it, Congress can push back the veto override. But to do this, they need a 2/3 majority vote in both houses.
Yes, that is good system, I think. Once half of, Congress, Senate passes the bill, right? That goes to president for signing. When president is refusing to sign the bill, then the law goes back to Congress. That time they have to vote again for passing 2/3 of agree to passing the bill, then the bill is becoming the law.
그럼 그 사이에 사람들 생각이 바뀌는 건가?
Maybe. So
Failing to pass legislation
They
is an
debate.
integral part of congressional routine.
yeah.
Congress is the only branch of government whose members are elected directly by the people, and the only part of government that tries to balance the relationship between the power of the nation and the individual states. To see how the Supreme Court checks the president,
Okay. So President, we talked about this, right? He serves as the head of state, head of country. Also, he is head of government, executive branch. Also, he is the command of military too. Yeah, we talked about this. Vice President, when the vote equals 50-50 in senator, Vice President has one more vote. Yeah, to pass the bill. Interesting. Okay, let's see about executive branch, how they serve.
there are 3 branches of government in the US: legislative, executive, and judicial. The president has the executive branch and has unique powers, including executive orders, vetoes, appointing federal judges, and appointing the heads of federal agencies, also known as the president's cabinet. He also acts as the commander-in-chief of the military. The cabinet, itself part of the executive branch, also acts as an advisory board to the president, with the chief executive of each agency, mostly known as the secretary of their department. But the president doesn't have absolute power to make these appointments. The Senate must vote to confirm the president's appointees, one example of the checks and balances at work. Cabinet members also make up part of the presidential line of succession in the event that the current president becomes incapacitated, resigns, dies, or is removed from office. First in line is the vice president, then the Speaker of the House, and then the Senate President pro tempore. After that, we start down the line of cabinet members. The president also appoints the heads of more than 50 independent federal commissions, as well as ambassadors and federal judges. Of course, those nominees need to be confirmed by the Senate as well, check and balance. But the president also checks Congress. When Congress enacts bills, the president either signs the legislation into law or rejects it through a veto. The president also has the power to pardon and grant clemencies for federal crimes, except in cases of impeachment on both the state and federal level. In the global sphere, the president serves as the nation's representative. He can negotiate and sign treaties with another nation, but it only becomes ratified with the support of 2/3 of the Senate. The president also has the power to issue executive orders, which allows him to direct the actions of members of the executive branch without it having to be approved by Congress. But while Congress has no say when it comes to executive orders, the judicial branch, in the form of the Supreme Court, does have the power to overturn an executive order. But considering how much power the president is given, the eligibility requirements for the office of the presidency are very strict. The Constitution lists only 3 requirements. The president must be 35 years of age, a natural-born citizen, and must have lived in the United States for at least 14 years. Presidents are limited to 2 4-year terms, as stipulated by the 22nd Amendment, ratified in 1951. Before that, 2 terms was traditionally the limit until President Franklin Delano Roosevelt served 4. In the US, we elect a new president every 4 years through a system called the Electoral College. This means when we go to the polls to vote for president, we actually vote for electors who will cast their vote on our behalf. While all of these rules or stipulations may sometimes befuddle us, they reflect how important maintaining a balance of power was to our founding fathers. So while the president's power has expanded as the United States has grown as a force on the world stage, the judicial and legislative branches still keep the leader of the free world in check.
Yeah, interesting voting system for president. For voting president, the system is not direct voting. Okay, first we vote elector, representative. For the behalf of people, they vote. Mostly they are consisted of Democratic and Republican. They vote for president. Okay, let's say we are making presidential voting. For example, in the United States, majority people vote for Harris, right? Then the California has number of elector, okay? When the Democratic wins in California, let's say, I'm not sure exact number of elector, let's say California has 50 electors, okay? They are consist of, maybe 25 Republican, 5 Democratic, right? But one vote, if any number of votes win in that states, let's say Democratic wins in California, then Democratic takes 50 votes. Everything. No matter how many balance, like let's say the people vote 49-51, right? But 51 wins. That is Democratic. Let's say, then Democratic takes 50 electoral, everything. No Republican. That is kind of weird system. I don't know. Anyway, that is the systems to election of President of the United States. Interesting. So some state has issue, the power between almost the same as 50-50, just small states. So every, the candidates, they go to that state to win whole electorate. Okay, also we get judicial branch, right? Federal branch, federal court and Supreme Court, and it has also a 13 circuits, 49 district court too. Yes. They have power of judicial review. They have power of interpretation of laws and protection of human rights too.
근데 그거를 바꾸려고는 시도는 안 해봤어요, 미국에서. 궁금한 게 분명히 유리한 쪽은 있을 텐데 불리한 쪽에서 얘기를 할 텐데 나 너무 억울하다. 우리
그러니까.
더 많은 표를 받았는데.
I don't know why they don't want to change. Sometimes I don't really understand.
확실히 어느 주가 더 유리한 당이 유리한 쪽이 있지 않아요?
Population 51 wins over 49. 51 takes everything.
그러니까. 불리하다고 느끼는
Yes,
생각이
yes,
있는데 왜
yes.
그걸 어필을 안 할까?
Yes, I don't know.
그렇구나. 그 투표선거에서 분명히 자기는 이겼을 텐데
Yes.
왜 어필을 안 하지?
Yes, yes.
궁금하네 진짜.
Yes.
왜 어필을 안 하지 진짜?
Yes. So that it could be happening. Whole population vote for Republican candidate, more than 50% of people in the United States vote for Trump. But it could be happening. Harris will be president.
그렇죠. 네.
Or other way.
네.
Yes. Because electoral system.
선생님은 하나하나 개별적으로 세는 게 맞다 생각하시나요?
I don't know. I don't really know. Because I think it is not fair. Maybe some small states, they might think it's not fair because California has the biggest voting power because many population live in. More traditionally, California people are more democratic, right? Yeah. So the small state, they might think we are taking kind of disadvantages of population. So maybe it's not fair because no matter how many people live in that state means nation, right? So it might be think it's not fair. Yeah.
작을수록 힘이 없는 건 너무 당연한 거라서 왜 언페어한지 잘 모르겠어요. 저는 제 인형 입장 얘기하는데 캘리포니아 주를 잡고 있는 당에서는 억울할 수도 있잖아요.
Yes.
딱 하나 이기는 거잖아.
Yes.
이렇게 많은 사람들이 투표를
Yes.
했는데.
Let's say, okay, I am Korean, okay. Also, I am Asian, okay. Asian's political power. Let's say Asian political power is the biggest power in the United States. Most Asian people live in United States. We have majority power. Let's say, okay. Then we make president for Asian president. Is it possible?
Yes.
Then he can make the law president, and then senates, congressmen, they can make the law only good for Asian people. And then president appoints court judges, federal judges, Asian judges. What do you think? Is it fair? Some other people think, oh, it's not fair. Yeah. I think that is the reason, why we use those kind of systems.
There's no
Because, there's no check and balance. Yeah. We have Asian people is the biggest population, let's say, right, in the United States. And then also California has the biggest power because many Asian people live. We are majority in the population, so we have all the powers. Maybe we can abuse the power.
안 할 수도 있잖아, 나는.
Yes.
모르는 건데, 진짜.
Yeah, who knows
그쵸,
why? Other races, other people, they can think, oh, they are not, making the bills, they are not, executive orders to people for Mexicans. We are, take disadvantage. They might think.
그렇게 따지면
Yes.
멕시칸 사람이 되면 아시안 사람을 나쁘게 볼 수도 있는 거잖아.
Yes. So that's not fair.
그러니까.
When a president elect by Mexican people, okay, Asian people cut the salaries by 50%. I mean, I am exaggerating, but so that is possible.
결국 이랬어.
Hitler did that things, right? Yeah. So maybe that's why the reason.
there's no absolute fair.
Yes. I know there's no absolute fairness, but we try to make balance. Yeah.
Professor, are you a eligible voter
What do you mean eligible?
to vote for the president?
Yes.
So who did you vote?
Personally, I don't support no politician, no political party, because I have in mind I don't trust them, no one. I don't trust any politicians. They are all liars.
저는 국회의원뿐만 아니라 전 세계 사람들이 라이브를 생각해요. 일반인 포함해서는 다 사기꾼이라고 생각합니다.
So truly, they don't represent the citizen. They just work for their own gains.
그렇죠. 진짜요.
Yes. That's what I'm thinking.
그렇죠. 그 스칸데베 반도 너무 심각한 거예요.
Yes.
스칸데베 반도는 제가 예전에 봤던 기억으로는 국회의원 월급이 500만 원밖에 안 돼요.
Yes. The country is Northern Europe. The politicians, they take the bus.
진짜요.
Yes, they take, they sometimes work. They take bicycles. I think that is kind of fair.
일이라고 생각하는 거
Yeah,
같아요.
they just think their work is for serving the citizens. But most country, they have power when they become president or officials in government. They say they work for the people, but the reality was no, they just work for themselves.
아까 앞에서 얘기하신 것처럼 스칸디나비아의 그런 제도를 US로 바꾸면 이 제도는 사용할 수 없게 돼 버리겠네요. People
It doesn't work. Yeah.
사람이 제일 중요한 거예요.
Yes, because one system works for everything. No, we don't have those systems. Okay, it's like, Norway, Sweden, they have, social democratic systems, right? I think, anyway, it's not perfect, but it works better in that area, right? But we cannot adopt directly in the United States because we have different culture, we have different histories, we have many different ethnic groups, Asians, in Asia, Chinese people, Korean people, Japanese, Europeans, Russian. So it is not,
Almost the
easy.
most diverse.
Yes. So some people are, communist. Some people are, liberal. There are many, political opinion groups. There are many, various groups of. That's why it is really hard. Like, Korea, example, the politicians, I don't trust the politicians in Korea. Nobody. Democrat Party, Republic, I don't trust them either. No single politicians work for people. That's my belief, So, in the United system too, I don't believe they work for people. So I don't vote. I'm eligible to vote, but I don't vote.
스칸디아 반도처럼 국회의원이 월급 500만 원을 해버리면
Yes,
난리
yes,
나겠네요,
yes.
진짜.
Yes.
아무도 안 하는 거겠네.
Yes.
그 고생 일을 내가 왜 해야 되겠네.
Yes, some country too. Not only, capitalist country, communist country, socialist country, they have also power is concentrated to certain group, right? China, North Korea, Vietnam, too, Member of Communist Party has the most power. Is it right? Yes. They abuse the power. Same thing, capitalist country. Senate, politicians, same. Leaders in, China, Korea, Japan, North Korea, same. All our leaders are same.
되게 신기해요.
No matter system they use, socialist, communist, capitalist, same.
그렇죠. 그래서 신기한 것 같아요. 500만 원 받고 여기 우리나라 다 품위유지비도 있고.
Yes.
근데 그걸 오.
So, I don't know. The people should have true citizens' power to elect, to advocate, to work, or elect people who really work for the citizens.
굉장히 부유한 나라였어요. 그쪽 나라 사람들이.
No.
그런데도
Yes.
꼭 돈이 문제는 아니네요.
Yes. So, Aristotle says people are what? Political creature, right? I'm not directly involved in politicians, but people are born in political creature, as Aristotle says. So we have to raise our voice, tell the people, leader, officials in the government, hey guys, that's not fair. You guys really work for ourselves, for the people, citizens. But reality is,
먹고 살기 바빠서 그래.
not working like that.
진짜 먹고 살기 바빠서 그래.
Okay, another issue, I think also United States use, so, personally, I don't believe capitalism. I don't believe socialism. I don't believe communism. I just want to believe people's power. Yeah. We have to raise our voice loud. Yeah. Then we can change the system and society. Okay, let's see what is
In
federal.
this video, we will discuss federalism. Federalism is about government power. Federalism means that power is divided between a national government and state or provincial governments. In the United States, some powers belong to the national government in Washington, D.C., and other powers belong to the state governments, such as the state government in New York. We call the national government in Washington, D.C. the federal government. In addition to the national government in Washington, D.C., there's a government in each state, so 50 state governments. Because of federalism, some powers belong to the federal government and other powers belong to the state governments. One power of the federal government is to regulate trade between the states. Another power of the federal government is to declare war. States have powers too. States have their own laws and their own police. States also generally run their own schools. Some powers are shared. For example, both the federal and state governments have the power to tax. Why does the United States have a system of federalism? Remember, Americans fought the Revolutionary War to gain independence from Britain. The 13 former colonies became 13 independent states. States were concerned about losing power to other states. States were also concerned about losing their power to the national government. However, many Americans realized they needed a central government strong enough to unite the country. So on the one hand, state governments did not want a national government so strong that there would be tyranny, but a central government that was too weak could not unite the country. Federalism was a compromise. Federalism provides some power to the national government in Washington, D.C., and other powers belong to each of the states. Because of federalism, there are both federal and state legal systems in the United States. That's why in the United States, there are both federal and state courts. If you'd like to discuss federalism or any other matter related to you,
Yes, I think that is good system too. Yeah. When we don't have federal government, maybe there could be war between California and Arizona, with Arizona and New Mexico, right? Yeah. So, yeah, because we have a federal government, they share equally the power of government with each state. Yes, I think that is good system too.
진짜 너무 궁금해서 안 물어볼래. 그 제도가 진짜 없으면 사람들은 사이좋게 지낼 수 없는 건가?
Yes.
그 생각, 진짜로 그렇게 생각하세요?
Yes. Because, okay, most people has good mind too, right? Basically. Yeah. But sometimes when we have situation for getting more profits, right? Then I am the owner of the manufacturer. You guys worker. The reason why I run that manufacturer is making more money. But government, there are no regulation about labor and the payment, the basic salaries, right? Then I, take all your labors as profit. I give you just little salary to you guys. Yeah, that is a human being. Yeah. Basically, I'm a good person, but we have other, evil mind inside of ourselves, right?
Besides,
Yes. So we don't control ourselves too, because we have to have law and regulation.
혹시나 항상 저는 그 생각 많이 해서 왜냐면 결국에 제도란 그게 있어도 결국 사람이 변하지 않으면 이거는 문제가 해결되지 않는 거라고 생각을 해서 물어본 거예요. 네. 사람이 바뀌어야 이게 제도가
Yes. We have to have education. Because that's why education is so important.
왜냐면 제도가 있어도 지금 그렇게 일하는
Yes.
사람들 엄청 많잖아요.
Yes.
그러니까 사람이 바뀌지 않으면
Yes.
마인드가 사장이
Yes.
지랄고.
So we have to tell people, hey, bro, we have to raise a voice. We are all labor worker. You have the right, labor right. I have the labor right. We united together, right? Then make louder voice. That can change the system. Yes, I think that's the all of
Stop by my website.
today's lecture, and then also end of this quarter. Next quarter, after 3 weeks break, we're gonna have Thursday class. I am doing counseling. Okay, counseling means everybody has any kind of problem inside of ourselves, right? Yeah. Like, or some people have kind of trauma, trauma, right? Experience like long time ago. That still affects myself, right? So we are talking about those kind of things next quarter. Okay, maybe I like to see you guys again. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, see you next time.
저 딱 하나만 더 물어도 돼요?
예.
아까 그 처음에 너무 용서하셨다는 말에 약간 충격을 받아가지고 하나는 반대로 물어보면 선생님이 사기를 당한 게 아니라 반대로
나도 사기할 수 있는 거지.
근데 그러니까 내가 이제 뭐 잘못을 크게 한 건 아니야. 정말 뭐 조그맣게 상대방들은 크게 비난할 수 있잖아요.
그렇죠.
선생님 그런 경험이 있었는지 모르겠지만
그럴 수 있죠, 충분히.
그럴 때는 어떤 마음가짐을 가져야 좀 내가 편할까요? 그러니까 뭐 예를 들어서 저는 크게 잘못한 게 아닌데 샘플을 그냥 봤어, 옷을. 근데 보다 보니까 내가 뭔가 훌륭할 수도 있고
아이디어가 떠올랐어.
그러니까 내가 샘플을 항상 수시로 확인하니까 사람들 입장에서 없어질 때마다 저를 의심하는 거예요, 예를 들어서. 근데 저는 그냥 일을 열심히 하고 있었을 뿐인데 자꾸 이제 그런 약간 의심을 받고 비난을 받으니까 이제 막 짜증나는 거야. 근데 이건 어떻게 보면 상호작용이긴 해도 저는 거의 잘못이 없잖아요. 물론 어떻게 보면 빌미를 작용한 걸 수도 있긴 한데 샘플을 많이 본 게 잘못된 건 아니잖아. 내 일을 열심히 하는 게.
그렇죠. 예.
근데 사람들은 그거를 가지고 이 사람이 뭐 보다가 잃어버릴 수 있고 잃어버린 원인을 나한테 찾는 거예요. 근데 그런 거마저도 내가 용서라는 표현보다는 넘어갈 수 있을 것 같아요. 선생님은 그러니까 비난받을 일이 아니야. 선생님 막 비난하기 막 시작해. 제가 너무 잘 해결해보고 싶어서 궁금해서 물어보는 거예요.
제 생각은 항상 저는 그러니까 사람마다 생각이 다를 수는 있는데 저는 어떤 게 되냐면은 사람들마다 그게 있잖아요. 기본.
그렇죠.
그리고 common sense의 기본이 있잖아요.
네.
예를 들면 어떤 거냐면은 옛날에 제가 어렸을 때 나이트클럽 들어가면은 기본 있잖아요.
네. 복장 뭐
얼마에?
네.
얼마에?
테이블이요?
테이블 기본 있잖아요. 맥주 몇 개, 안주 몇 개. 그러니까 모든 사람들이 다 어그리하는 기본 같은 게 있어야 될 거라고 저는 생각해요.
네.
내가 생각하기에 그 기본 중에 가장 기본이 뭐냐면은 내가 이렇게 행동하면은 다른 사람은 기분 나쁘겠지.
그쵸.
라든지 그런 게 있어야 돼요. 그런데 어떤 사람들은 그거를 생각을 안 하는 사람들도 되게 많아요. 내가 이런 말을 하면 상대방이 기분 나쁠까 고려하지 않고 행동하거나 말하는 사람들이 있거든요.
네.
그러니까 그런 거는 사실 어쩔 수가 없어요.
그렇구나.
예. 내가 그 사람을 바꿀 수가 있는 게 아니라.
그렇죠. 네, 그래서.
그래서 저는 어떻게 하냐면은 최대한 그러니까 나의 도덕성이나 나의 양심을 벗어나지 않는 선에서 저는 최대한 그 사람에게 맞춰주려고 노력해요.
진짜.
예. 그러니까 내가 이렇게 하면 나의 정체성이 막 변화가 될 거야. 그런 걸 넘지 않는 선에서 오케이 당신이 그거 원하면 오케이 해주고 그리고 예전에도 강의를 했는데 제일 중요한 게 뭐냐면요 relationship이에요.
관계. 그 이제 나중에